Muraho neza. Nagira ngo mbanze mbisegureho, twagize ikibazo tekinike cyatumye dutinda kubageraho, ariko ndakeka cyakemutse noneho twatangira. Nitwa Shenge Sandra, ninjye uza kuba umusangiza w'amagambo muri iki kiganiro. And I will go in English as well because our conversation is going to be in English. So good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to start apologizing so deeply for starting late, for the delay we had due to technology issues. So, but we hope that you have been patient and you are now able to follow us for this conversation. So very warm welcome to this web series. My name is Shenge Sandra and I will be your moderator for the discussion. So we will be discussing today a very important matter, and namely fighting genocide denial, and we'll be hearing from a perspective from the Netherlands. Maybe to give a short background to this conversation. For many years now, we've been observing, we've been seeing a lot of actions denying the genocide against the Tutsi happened in Rwanda in 1994. And these around the world, it's something that is happening around the world. And in that context, One Nation Radio started an initiative to organize web series to hear from experts, from people who know about the realities of the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, to share factual information. And this is part of a wide campaign in the Rwandan diaspora around the world to fight against genocide deniers and revisionists. So the series is an opportunity to gather a number of pertinent informants and to hear from them about, what they can share as relevant information about the genocide against the Tutsi. Today, we will be exploring the perspective from the Netherlands after many other series talking about other perspectives from other countries. So today we have with us for our conversation His Excellency the Ambassador Nduhungirehe Olivier, Ambassador of the Republic of Rwanda in the Kingdom of Netherlands, and accredited also to Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So the ambassador is also in charge of following activities of international jurisdictions based in The Hague, mainly the International Court of Justice, the International Residual Mechanism for Criminal Tribunals, and the Permanent Court of Arbitration. So Ambassador Nduhungirehe is an experienced diplomat who held leadership positions in the Rwandan diplomatic missions over the past 14 years. So thank you very much. Thank you so much, Excellence, for your presence and for your time and for your patience as well. We have also with us today Mr. Gakire Dieudonné, an activist, genocide survivor, author of A Dreaming Child, which addresses how the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi affected children in Rwanda. Dieudonné is the founder of the Rwandan non-profit organization Global Radiant Youth. And as he pursues his studies of international relations at the Amsterdam University College, he also serves as the communication officer of the Netherlands chapter of Ibuka, a survivor organization that promotes justice, memory, and peace building. Welcome to you too, Dieudonné. So with our invitees today, we will be exploring the forms taken by genocide denial, the consequences of this evil, as well as actions that have been put in place around the world to fight genocide denial, and that have to be reinforced as we talk today. So warm welcome to both of you, our esteemed invitees of today, and I would like also to welcome very warmly everyone in our audience who is following today. Thank you so much. So I would like, without more delaying, I would like to jump straight to our conversation with a few questions to both of you. And to start, I would like to spend a few time maybe laying a foundation of today's theme, genocide denial. And if I may start with you, Ambassador Olivier, I would like you to briefly take us through this understanding of the concept itself. So what are the main features of genocide denial, and how can we understand it, and what forms can it take?
Thank you very much, Sandra Shenge and One Nation Radio for organizing this important web series on this issue of genocide denial, which is a scourge that we need to fight all together. And I also thank Gatien Dieudonné for his participation. Your question is really important because before fighting genocide denial, we must first and foremost understanding it. So genocide denial, I would say that it's a multi-headed beast, like in the Greek mythology. It's a monster with many heads. People think, especially in the northern hemisphere, that genocide denial is only to deny that the crimes that were committed in Rwanda can be qualified as genocide, but there are many forms of genocide denial and other related crimes. Actually, in Rwanda, we have a very comprehensive law of 22nd August 2018 on the crime of genocide ideology and its related crimes. It's a very comprehensive law that covers all the aspects that genocide denial and other forms of crimes related to genocide can take. And this law starts with the genocide ideology, because mainly it's about genocide ideology. And then there are several related crimes, but I will limit myself to 3 related crimes, which are genocide denial, genocide minimization, which we call in Kinyarwanda gupfobya genocide, and then justification of genocide. For the genocide ideology, it's simple. It's those who support, who advocate for genocide, to those who support the destruction in whole or part of national, ethnic, racial, and religious group as such. Of course, for this crime, many who commit this crime do it in hiding, using fake names on social media because of the legal consequences of that. But it still exists. There are even some Rwandans a platform that have openly called for a genocide. I can give an example. There is a radio called Radio Itahuka that of the Rwanda National Congress. In January 2019, they invited a professor, I don't know in which university he teaches, but a professor named Charles Kambanda, who said that if President Kagame doesn't want to negotiate with RNC, they should kill the Kagame people and up to the Umudugudu level. This is what they said in January 2019, which is a call for genocide. So this, beyond the genocide ideology, there are those related crimes. The genocide denial. Genocide denial, it can take 4 different forms. There are 4 different acts that can make genocide denial. First of all, is the simplest one, is to indicate that the crime that was committed in Rwanda in 1994 is not a genocide. We have people who are still saying that, although they are not many as they used to be in the past because of, as I said, the consequences of this statement. And the examples I can give is there was another professor in the US, Leopold Munyakazi, who was extradited to Rwanda, who was saying that what happened in Rwanda was not a genocide, but a fratricide. This is how he framed it. And the same professor also, the same professor I was talking about, Professor Kambanda, also say that legally speaking, what happened in Rwanda, it's not a genocide. So this is one of the forms. The second act that can constitute genocide denial is to distort the facts about genocide for the purpose of misleading the public. Here, people will say that there was a genocide in Rwanda, they will accept it, but they will say that it was not against the Tutsi. It was a Rwandan genocide or a genocide in Rwanda. And we have many, many examples in the Rwandan community. We have, for example, Judy Rever, Judy Rever, the Canadian author who wrote recently a book. And in that book, she was saying that there was a genocide in Rwanda, but she was explaining it was caused by fear, justified fear by the Hutu because of a fifth column, the Tutsi civilians who were supporting the RPF. This is what she explained in a chapter, dedicated chapter entitled The Tutsi Fifth Column. And there are also others like Ambassador Ndagijimana Jean-Marie Vianney, who also wrote a book entitled How Kagame Sacrificed the Tutsi, something like that. So, these are examples of genocide denial. And of course, there is also the Belgian Deputy Force Commander of the UNAMIR, Luc Marchal, who is in Belgium now, and who in 2011 has declared on Jambo News that what happened in Rwanda, it was just animal instinct. People wanted to kill in an attempt of not being killed. So it was just a survival instinct, which is a plain genocide denial. Third, it's those who advocate for double genocide. Those who advocate for a genocide against the Hutu, together with a genocide against the Tutsi, they are also considered as genocide deniers. We have many of them, and the example, the most known example is Jambo Isbel, this organization of children of genocide perpetrators. They say that on a daily basis in their documents. The fourth and last one on genocide denial is those who indicate that genocide was not planned, and it happened because of the popular outburst following the plane crash of President Habyarimana. Those exist also, and Jambo Isbel is one of them because they wrote about that, even lengthy articles explaining that what happened in Rwanda was not planned. So beyond genocide ideology and genocide denial, there's also the minimization of genocide, meaning gupfobya genocide, gupfobya genocide yakorewe abatutsi. There are also here 4 acts that constitute this crime. The first is those who minimize the gravity and consequences of the genocide. For example, those who will say that what happened in Rwanda in '94 is not a big deal, and survivors should not get support. Second is those who lessen the means through which genocide was committed. For example, those who will say that there was no rape during the genocide, and those who were there was consent and there was no rape during the genocide. This is the second act that manifests through which minimization of genocide manifests itself. And then the third, sorry, there were three, not four. There were three. The third and last one on this minimization of genocide, it's those who provide wrong statistics for the genocide, for the victim of the genocide. We know that there are in many documents, we see that the genocide, there was 800,000 victim of the genocide according to the UN. This is what they said, according to the UN. But this is not true, because the UN in different resolutions say that the victims of genocide were over 1 million. And then the last related crime that of the genocide ideology is the justification of genocide. And here we have also three acts. First is to glorify the genocide. To glorify the genocide, for example, saying that all Tutsi should have been killed because and send back, for example, to Ethiopia through the Nyabarongo River. We have the example of what is his name again? Mugesera Leon, who was on trial in Rwanda for that. So those who glorify the genocide and explaining that it was necessary. Second, there are those who support genocide, including those who support the perpetrators of the genocide, meaning those who say that the government of Abatabazi, the MRND, the Hutu power parties, the army, the Interahamwe, all those are innocent. We have a clear example again with the same Jean-Bois Bell, because they wrote about it, and also with others like Joseph Matata. Joseph Matata is well known in Belgium, and he's supporting every single person accused of genocide in Europe. As simple as that. And then the last act is those who legitimize genocide, meaning that genocide was necessary because the Tutsi were dominant and they wanted to control everything, and they have infiltrated our country. And here the example is Judy Rever, of course, because she was explaining that it was sparked by fear of infiltration. And there is also another example here, though he is not accused of this during the current trial, is Paul Rusesabagina. Paul Rusesabagina in the current, in 2007, in April 2007, he had an interview with a Canadian journalist named Keith Harmon Snow, where he explained that genocide was committed by angry peasants, Hutu, who were victims of the RPF in the north, and then they came and killed everyone, Hutu and Tutsi, without distinction. This is a clear example of those who legitimize genocide. So sorry for being long, but those are the different forms that can take genocide deniers and its related crimes.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for such an extensive and complete picture about what genocide denial can be in the forms that it can take. It's very helpful. So, Dieudonné, I'm now coming to you to ask you, His Excellence Ambassador Olivier just shown the complexity of such a crime. And, genocide denial is a crime that profoundly touches survivors. Because the instigators of genocide denial try to rewrite, in the end, the history that is not only personal but also painful. And I would like to touch base with you on that. With what feelings that genocide denial revive in you as a genocide survivor, and also, how do you live this scourge of genocide ideology and denial 27 years after the genocide against the Tutsi? What could you share with us about that?
Thank you so much. It's a very difficult question, but I will try. Maybe before answering your questions, I would like to highlight the four important things in my survival journey for you or for everyone to understand how I perceive genocide deniers or how their actions affect me or any survivor. So first of all, when the genocide began, I was 2.8 years old. And due to that, the boys were mostly hunted. I had to identify myself as a girl, so I was always dressed like a girl. So secondly, as my mom was pregnant, my 11 years sister, my 11 years old sister with no option had to carry me on her back, working while hiding during the day and the night under extensive rainfall, trying to reach to Kabai. That time we believed it was a survival point, but it was a concentration camp. So third, as I have said, my mom was pregnant and she gave birth to a baby boy. And due to the poor condition in a concentration camp in Kabgai, my young brother passed away. And when I asked my mom about him, she told me it was you or him to die, not both of you to survive. So last but not least, on the 2nd June in 1994, me and my family and the other Tutsis in that camp, we were psychologically prepared to die. And our killers were prepared physically to kill us. Now, yeah, I feel grateful and thanks to RPA who saved us in that day and bring us to life we deserved. So now to answer your question about denials, revisionist, and everyone who tried to hide the truth or change the narrative about the genocide, I survived. When I look at myself or my family or as a nation and see the efforts we made to overcome the consequences of the genocide, I feel so disappointed. Because I see that there are still people trying to put us back in those dark days. So when I see deniers airways, I feel offended and harassed, and they humanize the game. See, you see, when people were being killed, they were not considered as human beings. So that's the same feeling I have whenever I come across to these deniers. So that's why I always say, these people, they should stop. They should stop and try to listen to our voices, but also try to think about the future of Rwanda, the future generation. We made big efforts in reconciliation and in forgiving and in building the country, so they should consider that and join us to teach the truth. I think when I think about the people I lost, when I think the 1 million people we lost, I thought it was not enough lesson for us to learn. So that's why these people, yeah, it's painful. It's painful to see the actions, praying around the people we lost, about the happier childhood we lost, about all sacrifices we made. And yeah, so that's how I can answer your question.
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dieudonné, for sharing such a personal testimony about your story as a survivor and the way you feel in front of such behaviors. And I will, with that, we've come back to you, Ambassador Olivier. in front of such pain, as Dieudonné is explaining, we see that most of genocide deniers argue that, you know, trying to silencing them would be against their freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So how can we understand genocide denial in the context of freedom of opinion and expression?
Thank you very much. That's true. There are people who argue that since I was not part in the crime of genocide itself, but I expressed my right to qualify as I wish, why should it be a crime? It should be just a freedom of opinion. It's true that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of 10th December 1948 provide for a freedom of opinion and freedom of expression, Article 19. But as for every right and for every freedom, there is always limitations. Even in our constitution, we have Article 37 and 38 about freedom of thought, freedom of press, and freedom of expression. But there is an exception, because we can't use our freedom of opinion, our freedom of expression to spread genocide ideology, to spread ethnic, racial, or religious division. Those are forbidden and they are punished by law. So we need to understand that although it is not in the definition of genocide, the 1948 definition, there are scholars like Gregory Stanton who say that the genocide denier is the last stage of the crime of genocide itself, the 10th and last stage after classification, symbolization, discrimination, dehumanization, organization, polarization, preparation, persecution, and extermination. So genocide denial comes as the last one in an attempt to erase our collective memory about a significant moment or event of the history of humanity, because genocide is an important event in the history of humanity. We don't have genocide every day, although we can see in the media that some tend to call genocide every crime happening here and there, but genocide is a very special crime, and those who deny it try to erase our collective memory, which will be an obstacle for healing, as Gachire said, for healing, for reconciliation, and also for the prevention of future atrocities. And those who deny genocide, who minimize or justify genocide, want to absolve the perpetrators of their crimes, and they want to blame instead, to blame and torment the victims. So this is why it is important to fight genocide denial, which is not a protected opinion under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Wonderful. Thank you. Think of this very interesting perspective, because it's something that we hear quite often, and you know, that can be in some ways understood as, you know, rightful and all. So thank you very much for putting things right, Ambassador Olivier. And I will continue on some other aspect about the fact that in the recent years, in the last years, we've seen some encouraging decisions being taken around the world to fight the denial of the genocide against the Tutsi. And we can mention, you know, some actions of pursuing and arresting fugitive genocide perpetrators, for instance, but also putting in place, setting legal frameworks in some countries or even globally to punish those denying actions. So I would like to see with you, in an attempt to compile those, I would like to see with you, what can you identify that has been done globally to curb genocide denial in general? And very specific, as you do that, as you explore that for us, could you also identify very specifically what the Netherlands have done and should do in fighting genocide denial and revisionism?
Thank you very much, Sandra. Indeed, the world has done something to curb, to fight genocide and its denial. We have the first act that was posed was Resolution 1955 of 8th November 1994 to create the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. Of course, there were investigations before at the UN and also at the OAU at the time, Organization of the African Unity. But that resolution was a first step to fight against impunity and to fight for accountability, because we know that genocide denial was spread throughout the world, first and foremost by genocide perpetrators. So it was important. That was the first step. And then the second step is the trials themselves. There was two important judgment of the ICTR that are landmark judgment. The first is judgment on 2nd September 1998 on the Akayesu case. Akayesu was a former mayor of Communitaba in the former prefecture of Gitarama. And then it's that judgment that decided that in Rwanda, there was a genocide, because until that time, no tribunal had said that in Rwanda there was a genocide. So there was a genocide, and two, there was a genocide against the Tutsi ethnic group. It was clear in that judgment of September 1998. But defense lawyers in Arusha, after that judgment, continue to use the denial as a defense strategy. And then this triggered a decision of the appeals chamber of the ICTR on 16th June 2006. The chamber issued a judicial notice saying that it is a fact of common knowledge that genocide against the Tutsi was committed in Rwanda. So meaning that it closed the doors for any further genocide, using of genocide denial as a defense strategy. So that was a really important. 3, the UN declared 7th of April an international day for the reflection on the genocide. The resolution was adopted on 23rd of December 2003 in preparation of the 10th anniversary of the genocide. At that time, they were still using the expression genocide in Rwanda. They say that, but this was corrected in 2018 and in 2020 by the General Assembly, which reaffirmed 7th of April as an international day on the reflection of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. So this was also important. And 4, I started talking about that in my previous point. It's the clarity in the terminology. I was talking about genocide in Rwanda, Rwandan genocide, and the Akayesu judgment. But despite the Akayesu judgment under judicial notice, the UN political organs were still using Rwandan genocide as an expression. So this changed first in 2014 during the 20th anniversary, where the UN Security Council adopted Resolution 2150 on the 16th April 2014, which declared that what happened in Rwanda is a genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi. And this was confirmed by the General Assembly in a decision of January 2018, and also in April 2020, last year. So now it is understood at the UN level that what happened in Rwanda is a genocide against the Tutsi, and the African Union also adopted a similar resolution in 2017. In April 2017, they say that what happened in Rwanda is a genocide against the Tutsi. Now, fifth achievement after those I have mentioned, it's about those recent resolutions that I talked about, the resolution of the Security Council 2150 and those of General Assembly. They all mention the need to fight genocide denial. They reject genocide denial, and they call on member states to develop programs of education to fight genocide denial, which is important. But now we need, of course, to have a further step, because what was done is important, but there are two things that remains that should be done by the international community. First is to really ensure that all suspects of genocide living in their countries are arrested for prosecution. There are countries that are yet to do something significant in that area. There is even a country in Europe that has neither prosecuted nor extradited anyone. So we need to change that. And then the second is what Belgium and France started to do, which is to adopt legislation criminalizing genocide denial. They do it, although the scope is not the same as the scope of our law of 2018, but at least it's an important step that was taken. So many countries should do the same. For the Netherlands, we have good relations after the genocide in '94. First they helped us in the justice sector. You know that the genocide had devastated everything, including the justice sector. There are judges who were killed, there are judges who fled the country. So they helped us in training professional of justice, but also building court rooms. That is one. And then the second, they have also done their part in prosecuting or extraditing those who are suspect of genocide or for committing genocide. We have, I think, since 2007, we have sent 18 indictments in the Netherlands for people living in this country. The Netherlands have tried 2 here, tried and convicted. There's one, Joseph Mambara, who was sentenced in 2011 for life. Another, Yvonne Basebia Ntacyobatabara, was also sentenced for 6 years and 8 months in 2013. And then 2 others were extradited to Rwanda, Jean-Baptiste Mugimba and Jean-Claude Iyamuremye, nicknamed Nzinga. They were extradited in 2015, and they are on trial now in Rwanda. And then there are others who were arrested, like Charles Nderehe. He was arrested, but he was released for an issue regarding his Dutch nationality. There was another, Vincent Rutunga, whose process of extradition is ongoing. And there's another called Justin Mugenzi, who was also arrested. So things are moving. But we have still, I would say, 9, 10 fugitives that are still here. We're still working with the Dutch government to ensure that they are also arrested and brought to book. As you know, Netherlands is a member of the United Nations, so they are part of these resolutions that were adopted in terms of education towards fighting genocide denial. And of course, we would wish that they also adopt a similar law on criminalizing genocide denial, because we feel that it's important. And then the last one about the Netherlands, that we are working with Ibuka Holland and the community here, is to ensure that we have a memorial here in the Netherlands. We have memorials of genocide in a number of European countries, in Belgium, in the United Kingdom, in Italy, in France, but here we are yet to have one. I think we will work with the Dutch authorities and Ibuka Holland to ensure that we have one. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Olivier, for such a comprehensive picture about what have been achieved, but also what is still to be worked on. So, Dieudonné, I would like to now turn to you and see, and give back the question to you, but from another angle, from the angle of the activist, member of Ibuka Holland. So I'd like, what picture can you give us of the genocide denial in the Netherlands? Who are the main actors involved in spreading it in the Netherlands?
Yeah, thank you. Also, to answer this question, we have also to look at what made the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi possible and successful in that way. It was because its ideology was developed and taught in schools, in families, in public places, in media, and it was even financed by the government or other people with money. As today there is a denial across the globe, also the Netherlands, it is not an exception to this. And who are the main actors? Still, they are in all sectors, in academics, in media, and they use the same strategies. And these are for instance, in my understanding, they are the people who do it maybe because they have a little knowledge about the genocide, because they don't have enough facts. But they're also the big group who know what they are doing, and these are Rwandans and non-Rwandans, and these are perpetrators who found here as a safe place, and they pass this through their children, their neighbors, their friends, and as I told you, for the genocide to happen at that level, at that large scale, it was because it was well prepared and planned and supported by Rwandans and non-Rwandans, and those people that are still around and that they still continue to deny what they committed. And as an activist, as you have mentioned, here or elsewhere, I see a little attention about the genocide deniers. And this is the same as the all signals of the genocide. It was possible to prevent and stop the genocide before it happened in 1994. So I see the same happening now for the genocide deniers. And I see this is happened because like when this freedom of speech and the freedom of expression matter than human beings, and I see that as a contradiction, because these rights are there for the people, and then people use their hate speeches, their propaganda about divisionism, minimization about the genocide under these rights. And also people, especially perpetrators and their children, who think maybe hiding the truth will make them innocent, or maybe it will help them to live here safely. Yeah, these are the main actors, and these are the the strategy they use now with the technology. Yeah, now it's easy to go on Facebook and spread the hate speeches or deny the genocide. They have YouTube channels, they have radios, they have all the things. They even write. They are even authors, and as a student, you can even go to school to hoping to learn a knowledge, and then you have that paper or that book, and it's always painful. So about what the government have made the Netherlands, or that government, I think my ambassador have answered that question very well. But as a survivor or as a member of IWCA, I'm grateful of what the government have made to support survivors, or to support the truth of the genocide. And as Ambassador mentioned, one of our dreams is to have a memorial here. And the memorial is for the people to learn. It's all about protecting the next generation to live without violence, without discrimination, and a society free from genocide.
All right, thank you so much, Dieudonné. And jumping on the last point you've just mentioned about possibly building a memorial there for the fight against denial, or for the memory simply of the genocide against the Tutsi, I'd like to jump on that and ask you more broadly about the work that IWCA Netherlands has done to now. You know, it's a key actor as a survivor organization. It's a key actor in this fight of, against genocide denial. So I'd like to ask you, what does IWCA Holland do to combat genocide denial in general?
Yes, I agree. As IWCA, it's our responsibility to fight against the genocide deniers. But as the genocide against the Tutsis was recognized internationally, it is also a responsibility for everyone. So back to IWCA Netherlands, like other IWCAs, our work focuses on justice, memory, peace building, supporting survivors, and we emphasize on justice. We, of course, we don't have any capacity to arrest anyone or to test perpetrators, but we do advocacy, we do lobbying to make sure all perpetrators, they face justice, to make sure all deniers, they are held accountable, and other things we do. Which is very important is education. We try to educate the new generation, the young people who are born and grew up in Europe, and we also through conferences and public lecturers also try to educate those who have a little knowledge about the genocide, and these are our brothers and sisters from here or from other places in Europe, but who are living here. Yeah, that's what we do, and we encourage our members to speak out, to share their stories, to write, because it's very important to write their stories, because they carry the very most important legacy. So it's very important to share that with the world, because we all understand survivors will not live forever. So, but if you leave something to the next generation, it's very important. So as also IWCA, we encourage our members to write down their stories and also share with us. With us, it's because it's also part of the personal healing. When you share your story, it helps you to feel life, but it's also lessons to other people.
Of course. Thank you so much, Dieudonné, for sharing such important message about the necessity to work on preserving that memory, of sharing information with the next generation and all. And as we approach the end of our conversation here, before having an eye on the YouTube channel to check on whether we would have had questions as we were conversing here, I would just like you to tell us, in a few words, what would you say? What would be the key message you'd like to leave our audience with? What should we keep in mind as we conclude this conversation around fighting genocide denial in the Netherlands?
Yeah, you allow me to borrow the words from our President Kagame, who once said, "We cannot change our past, but you have the capacity and the responsibility to shape our future." This is my message to everyone, to feel responsible and also to believe that you have the capacity to shape our future, a better future free from violence and genocide. And other takeaway messages to act now, especially for the hate speeches. Aria, Ambassador mentioned the head speech by Léon Mdesela, who was the political figure and member of the ruling party in that time. In 1992, he said that they will send the troops along the Nyabarongo River as a shortcut to return to their home in Ethiopia. This happened in 1992, and 2 years after 2 years, many people were thrown in the Nyabarongo River, including my grandfather and uncle. Then my question now to everyone: do we have to wait to experience this again to understand the danger of hate speeches, about the danger of this ideology? So then it's important to act now. To feel maybe I didn't have anything to do to stop the genocide in 1994, but now after 27 years, I can do something. Let's act now. Let's do something. Let's protect our society, and let's spread love and humanity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So let's act now is the very key message you'd like us to leave this conversation with. And before maybe asking the same question to His Excellency Ambassador Olivier, I would like to turn to the chat on the YouTube channel of One Radio Nation and give to you and propose to you two questions that were asked by Mr. Jean-François Caillé. I hope that I read it correctly. So the first question is, unlike in Rwandan law and unlike in the case of the Shoah, criminalization of denial of the genocide against the Tutsi is not included in many Western law systems. So he's asking, when it is like in Belgium, the law is not clear or difficult to apply, explaining the frequent presence of denial in Europe. So the question is, what is the best strategy to fight it? So the idea is really, in the case of a clear legal framework is absent, what is the best strategy to fight against denial? And as we reflect on that, I will also maybe give to you the second question so that you can intervene on both. The second question is about many Western scholars are supporting genocide denial theories. And for instance, Professor Rangens is one of them. What do you answer them when they claim that anti-denial laws refrain their academic liberty? I think Ambassador Olivier has said a lot, has given us a quite clear message to that one. But maybe you can react directly to that very specific context, Ambassador, as it was asked by one of our member of audience. So yes, the two questions: how do we do it? What is the strategy to fight against the genocide denial in the case of absence of a clear legal framework? And also, how do we do in the case of scholars that claim that fighting against genocide denial is refraining their academic liberty? So the question is taken to both of you, and yeah, whoever would like to share a few words on that one, please take the floor.
Thank you very much, Sandra. And I also thank Jean-François Caillé for his important questions. His first question is about our strategy to fight genocide, given that it may be difficult to fight genocide denial through the law, through the law legislation criminalizing genocide. As I say, there are two, for every crime, we can prevent and also punish. The prevention of genocide denial is contained in many resolutions that I mentioned earlier, many UN resolutions and even decisions of the African Union. So we need to develop programs of education around the crime of genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda, so that people know how it was prepared, how it was committed. I think when I was ambassador in Belgium, we met young people from IRG who came to Belgium. They were coming from France, from high schools in France, where they were giving conferences on the genocide, but they were surprised to find that many young people in France were not aware that there was a genocide in Rwanda. They were not aware. So we still have a problem of education. If, as I said earlier, a genocide is the most serious crime in any criminal book, the most serious crime. So it is not understandable that we still have an issue of education. We should push for education in schools, in different countries, so that people know genocide and then refrain from denying it or minimizing it. And then for the repression side, the punishment, it is also important, because for every crime, you can't only prevent. At some point, there's someone who commit that crime, and then you need to punish. This is what we did in Rwanda with our law of 2018. Belgium and France did it. But as I said, the scope is not the same. The scope is narrow. The scope is narrow. I say that genocide denial is a multi-headed beast, which has many heads. But we should not focus on only one head, the head of denying that the crimes committed in Rwanda were not a genocide. There are other heads that we still need to fight. So it's an uphill battle. We need to continue engaging concerned countries, so that we ensure that also the laws are implemented in France and Belgium, but also those who are yet to have such laws adopt them. And then to the second question of Jean-François Caillé is about the Western scholars, Philippe Reichens and others, who complain that our fight against genocide denial is encroachment to their academic liberty. But we have many scholars on this earth who do not complain about that, who are genocide scholars, who have written books on genocide. It's those who are denying or minimizing genocide who hide, like Philippe Reichens, who hide behind freedom of expression, freedom of opinion, to deny genocide. And as I said, genocide denial is not a protected freedom under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, because it's actually the crime, the continuation of the crime itself, and it's an attack on the survivors. It's an attempt to sanitize or absolve the perpetrators. So this is not an argument. It's an argument only for genocide deniers.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We have now, I think now looking at the YouTube channel chat section, we don't have any more questions. So I will now propose you, Ambassador Olivier, to give us also, as I asked Dieudonné, to give us your key message as a takeaway. What should we take from this conversation with you?
Thank you very much, Sandra. And I would like to thank One Nation Radio for organizing this web series, which is important. I think this is the second one after the one with our ambassador in Washington, D.C. And I hope that you will continue in different countries, because the realities of genocide denial are different in different countries. My message is first and foremost for the genocide survivors. We are now approaching the commemoration period. And by experience, we know that this is the period where the beast rises. The genocide deniers, they come out in different forms, and then they start denying or minimizing the genocide. So you need to stay strong, especially in this period of COVID-19, because COVID-19 is an impediment to our Rwandan culture to comfort each other, to be together in this difficult period. So be strong. And also, as Gachire Dieudonné suggested, you should tell your story. Tell your story. There are institutions in Rwanda to help, the CNLG and other. Please tell your story. Gachire did it with his book, A Dreaming Child. There are many who did that. There's the books that I read of for example, Consolé Nishimwe in the US, Tested to the Limit. There was Moi le Dernier Tutsi, the Last Tutsi of Charles Habonimana, which is an excellent book. There was also Ma Mère m'a tué, My Mother Killed Me of Albert Nsengimana. There are many others. So please tell your story so that deniers can't try to distort what happened in Rwanda. So, and then my second message is to the youth. The youth is important, because you know that the Rwandan population is very young. 70% of the population was born is less than 30 years. So they were either born after the genocide or were children during the genocide. So they should stay committed to the fight against genocide denial, to avoid falling in the trap of Jean Bois Bell and other organizations promoting genocide denial, and then stay committed, being publicly engaged in fighting genocide denial. And then the last message is for the international community as a whole, of course, the Netherlands and other countries and international organizations. We appreciate what was achieved over the past 27 years in terms of justice, in terms of resolutions and other documents that were issued fighting impunity and fighting genocide denial. But of course, we need to do an extra mile. First, as I said, in ensuring that all perpetrators of the genocide are brought to book, are being held accountable. Because now 27 years is, it's many years, you know. People are getting old, survivors maybe do not remember all the details, so we need to ensure that we do that. Hopefully, last year, Félicien Kabuga was arrested and is now in The Hague, and the trial will start soon. But others should be also arrested, and there are still many. And then lastly, to the international community is, of course, this issue that I was talking about of criminalization of genocide denier, so that we ensure that this multi-headed beast is fought and we win over it once and for all. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, for your strong, very strong message, which is quite clear. And thank you to Dieudonné Gakire for having been with us and letting us with such a powerful message as well about what we need to do and what you're calling people to do. And if you allow me, I will also share two messages that came to our chat section on the YouTube channel. Two people who are following us. The first is saying, let the whole world take a stand and fight against the genocide deniers, especially those who are in Europe. And then the same person says, not only in Europe, but all over the world. The second message is that every one of us has responsibilities to teach our youth, because as years go by, genocide against the Tutsi fed in young people. And these are very strong messages that I wanted also to share online so that everyone hears them. So I will take this opportunity to also thank One Radio Nation for this wonderful initiative they've started, and wishing them the best in the upcoming series about this this very important theme of genocide, fighting genocide denial all over the world. Thank you so much again, both to Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe and Mr. Gakire Dieudonné for your presence. And thanks a lot to our audience of today, to people who have been patient to follow us until the end of this very, very fruitful conversation. Thanks a lot. And I will now give back the air to One Radio Nation. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, and be well and keep safe also in these very strange times. Thank you.